What is happening, people? First YouTube video. I thought I'd discuss something quite topical, and that is the Royal Rumble. Harry and Meghan's bombshell interview with Oprah, but more specifically, the fallout from it. So, Piers Morgan, the controversial journalist and presenter on Good Morning Britain, has quit the show following some interesting dialogues and communications between him and another presenter, and essentially Piers suggesting that he didn't believe anything that came out of Meghan's mouth in the interview, and the fact that she'd chosen to do the interview at this time when Prince Philip was in hospital is contemptible. So, I mean, very briefly in a nutshell for you guys, for people that don't know, Meghan and Harry went on the Oprah Winfrey show for an exclusive with her, and divulged that they'd been the subject of racism, discrimination, bullying, and to the point where both their mental health had suffered, and Meghan had contemplated suicide, which is pretty serious allegations, pretty serious stuff. So, I mean, since that point, you know, people have been relatively divided on who they should believe, what's really gone on. I mean, no one actually knows. And, you know, even some of my friends are particularly on Meghan and Harry's side. The others are particularly on the royal family side. And it's not as black and white as the left is on Meghan's side and the right is on, you know, the royal side. It's not. And me, myself, I'm a little bit, you know, kind of probably down the middle. I would say I'm sensible to the point where I'm not going to make a decision based on half the facts. But again, you know, there's no smoke without fire. I don't understand why they would have fabricated the whole thing without some, you know, actual grounding there. And since then, apparently there's been evidence of the fact that, you know, there's text messages, email exchanges where some of this stuff has been proven. It hasn't come out into the public eye yet, but maybe it will. But I think what I really wanted to discuss today was Piers Morgan and his claims that him being basically taken off Good Morning Britain was an encroachment upon his freedom of speech. So I think first of all, it's important to highlight the fact that he wasn't kicked off Good Morning Britain. He quit Good Morning Britain. He stormed off in the middle of an exchange with another presenter, which I thought was ironic. For those of you that don't really know Piers Morgan, he's obviously a controversial character. He's a presenter who is quite opinionated, which isn't obviously the norm for news presenters. They tend to, especially on our side of the pond in the UK, be much more neutral. And he's somebody that's definitely not like that, and everybody knows it. And I think you know what you're getting with Piers Morgan. And ITV, the news channel that kind of hired him, knew that as well before putting him on air. But as I've said, he essentially said that he didn't believe a word that Meghan said. He thinks that her choice of doing the interview at this time was contemptible. And, you know, was quite emotive about it. And, you know, over the past, you know, however long it's been, since way before this, he has been on a bit of a character assassination of her. I did know that they had a personal kind of relationship at one stage, non-romantic as far as I know, but she ghosted him, and he has since brought up some stuff in her past that she, you know, has kind of cut people off, whether that's friends, family, has apparently been manipulative, has bullied people in the palace, staff, and caused 2 people to quit. Now, I'm not saying these claims are untrue, and some of them have actually, you know, there is evidence to support some of those claims. But we already know from the off that he doesn't like her at all. He's made that very clear. And he's taken whatever opportunity he can to remind us all that he, you know, is not a fan of hers. So, I mean, from one perspective, the fact that he said this and was then given the ultimatum, either you apologise or, you know, that's pretty much the end of it. You're not going to go back on air. Some people say, is that really an option? Is he really having freedom of speech there if he, you know, has essentially been told, either you're not going back on, you're not going to have your job, or you need to apologise. And I can understand that. It seems quite draconian. It seems quite restrictive. But then on the other hand, freedom of speech is something that we kind of band about here. And, you guys in the US have the First Amendment. Here we have the Human Rights Act, which basically puts into effect the European Convention on Human Rights. We have Article 10, which allows us, the freedom of expression. We can speak as we choose with certain limitations on it. So, we cannot incite violence. We cannot incite hate speech, whether that's racism, sexism, blah, 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 stuff like that, which it goes against cohesive democratic society functioning, is obviously not included in the freedom of expression, which I think is sensible, And I don't know how restrictive the First Amendment is. You guys can tell me in the comments, but I know that maybe for you guys in America, that might seem somewhat more restrictive than what you have. I don't know. But, I think we take freedom of expression so for granted in the Western world. There are places in the world where, for giving a particular view, let alone in the street or on social media, you'll be shot or thrown in prison, let alone, just told apologise, or, you can't go back on air. So, and you have to also understand that it is a privilege for him to be able to go and present on that programme, to use that platform. And ITV and Good Morning Britain are, of course, they're institutions that depend on money, If there's something that they believe is going to hurt their viewings, that's going to change public opinion, that's going to cause them to have issues, they're going to have to take the right decision, and that might just be an economic one, in that, you need to apologise, or we can't put you back on air, because for us, it's going to make our programme suffer. So there's that. That's one side of it, and I can understand that side. It could have purely been an economic decision, and, it's not that Piers can't go home and continue tweeting about it, which he has. He said, I still don't believe her, which is fair enough. But you're also representing a news channel, you're representing a programme, and to have such strong views, which 41,000 people complained on, maybe they had to make a decision. Fair enough. From the other side, from the view of the right-hand side, I guess, I get it. I get the fact that, some of them want to say, you should be able to say whatever you please. He's not fallen in the camp of, hateful speech or anything to that degree. Why should he have to, why should he have to curtail what he's saying? This is his opinion. He's more than entitled to have his own opinion. And, this cancel culture of essentially getting him off air because he espoused his own opinion is reckless, it's irresponsible, it sets a dangerous precedent, because other people who potentially have an opinion now are going to be wondering, will I be challenged? Will I be, in fact, not challenged, will I be silenced? That's the better word for it. Will I be silenced for having my opinion? Now, I would argue that the harm that could be done by him espousing this opinion outweighed the good of allowing him to actually continue with his spiel. Because what he was doing essentially was downplaying, implicitly, not, overtly, but implicitly saying mental health and, people that come forward with mental health struggles can be doubted. They can be questioned. They can be, not believed. And I know that he doesn't like Meghan Markle, and that's fair enough. He's well within his rights to not like her. But I think the precedent that sets is more dangerous. More people could be emboldened by the fact that someone that's influential, someone that's on Good Morning Britain, someone that's gone unchallenged with this view, can essentially espouse this and nothing's going to happen. So I think that he should have been challenged on that. It was right to challenge him. I also think, though, that there's not anything really wrong with having that view, but more so in the way that he presented it. He could have much more, I think it would be much more palatable to people if he had said, I'm not going to make a decision on whether I believe this currently, given the minimal set of facts that we've been given. You know, we don't have the full story yet. We don't have the whole situation from start to finish. And so I think it's irresponsible of me as a journalist, or even as a person, to make a categorical decision on one side or the other. And, you know, in that way, he's not necessarily saying he believes her. And, you know, he's also not being as emotive, as abrasive, and as arrogant as he's come across. Because I think, you know, just from human nature, let alone people's rights, when people hear that, you know, someone is staunchly like that and, you know, arrogant in the way that he does it, it puts a lot of people's backs up. 41,000 people complained. So I think from that perspective, that's probably how we should have handled it. Of course, he's well within his rights to have the opinion that he does. But, you know, there's a way of presenting it. And I saw a really good piece earlier on somebody that was saying, you know, if you go up to somebody in the street and say that they're ugly, that's something that's not generally accepted in modern society. You can say it. You're within your right to say it. It's not, you know, it's not going to land you in any hot water for saying it. But, you know, people in society, that's unacceptable. It's the societal pressure of what's acceptable and what's not sometimes governs our decisions, and that's not necessarily a good thing, you know. But I think based on the situation that we have here, there is more to lose by allowing him to go unchallenged and unchecked with having an opinion like that than there is to gain by him saying, oh, freedom of speech, I need to espouse this opinion, especially when it's delivered in the way that it's delivered. That's the issue, I think. You know, I'm going to have people on the right, of course, I'm sure, going to comment or take issue with this and say, you know, it's the bare bones of his freedom to express. No matter how insulting, he should be allowed to say it. And okay, but you know, there should be a line, I think. And I think that of course, that's obviously subjective for different people. Different people are going to find different things offensive. But I think that you can have these opinions, as I've said, and you can deliver them in a much less abrasive, much less confrontational way. And I think people would then understand you somewhat better, or at least be willing to listen to you. Because I think as soon as you start down a particularly adversarial road like that, you know, a lot of people switch off. They don't want to know, and this is where the complaints come in. So anyway, guys, that's enough ranting from me for today. I'll be back with another interesting topic to talk about, but peace.